Don't worry, guys. I know I'm muted. I was yawning. As soon as I hit the go live button, I started yawning. Hey, guys, this is the show. I'm Monkey. This is Monkey in the Morning, and we are here to talk for an hour or two or however long I decide about the world around us, because that's what I do. How are you? Hope you've been well. I've had a rough couple of days physically, but today it let up and feeling much better. And I haven't really paid attention to the news at all, which is great when you do a show that mostly covers the news, right? Before we move along, for those who haven't heard, Jack's father did pass away a couple of days ago now, and sucks. It sucks. He's had a rough year. He lost his brother last year. It's rough. So thoughts, prayers, best wishes, whatever you can for Jack, please do, because good friend, and he's always been a good friend of this show. So it sucks, man. So I remember losing dad, and that's not easy. It just fucking sucks. Yeah, F's in chat for Jack's dad, you guys. Jack said he's not going to be back online. He does have a link because I always send it to him, but he's not going to be back online until after all of the arrangements have been taken care of and everything's back to as normal as it can be now in his family. So with that out of the way, let's make dick jokes and stuff, because that's how I deal with stuff. I really do have a problem with serious topics like that. I never know what to say. I can talk about anything and can bullshit with the best of them, but when it gets real like that, man, and you know what it is? It goes back to my own childhood when my mom died and people would come up to me and say, I'm so sorry. And I was like, for what? Why are you sorry? You didn't fucking do it. I get it now as a grown up what that means, but it's always stayed with me. It just feels hollow. But I really am sorry for his loss, but it doesn't make when I hear my words, it doesn't make them sound less hollow. Anyway, y'all want to talk about CNN literally faking some of the worst news I've seen them do in a long time? It's wow. I couldn't believe it when I watched it. I saw this on another program. Who was I watching? I think maybe Megyn Kelly started talking about it. And I'm like, wait a minute, that can't be real. And so I went and looked it up. And oh yeah, it's real. This is absolutely real. So CNN witnesses moment Syrian prisoner is freed from Assad forces detention. The news media is having a bit of a problem. They're not really sure how to deal with what happened in Syria. You see, Syria was Obama's baby. It was his America. We still have balls, even though we let Putin just march into Crimea, and then he remember when he drew his line in the sand there in Syria, and Assad was like, "Fuck you, I don't care." Hey, nuts, how you doing, sweetheart? But the Arab Spring, that was Barack's big thing. He was spreading democracy to the Middle East, and while officially we weren't behind it, we were 100% behind it. And Assad was the one holdout. And so you have these people who desperately want to hate Assad. And it's fine to hate him. It really is. Because the guy is a shitbag dictator. But the people who took over are at least as bad. We're talking about the head of the main militia that was pushing into Damascus the other day. Is a guy that's on the U.S. terrorist list with a $10 million bounty on his head. If somebody kills this guy, we'll give him $10 million. You show us where he is, we'll give you $10 million. And this is the guy who's now kind of in charge. And you've seen a lot of news articles where they're trying to reinvent this guy as some kind of savior. And that leads us to this moment from CNN, because they are desperate, just so desperate. Let's go ahead and let's get Jake Tapper's take on this.
It tops our world lead as Syria's new rebel leaders say they will not pardon Assad regime officials who tortured and killed prisoners During the decades of his brutal reign, CNN's Clarissa Ward went to a Syrian prison to find someone still locked in a cell with no idea that Assad's regime had fallen.
I love that they weren't skeptical of this at all. So Megyn Kelly on her take on this is like, I don't think CNN was in on this. I think that somebody lied to them. No. Do not believe this shit at all. I think CNN was 100% involved. There's no fucking way they went and saw this guy and thought he was a real prisoner. Now, I realize I'm saying that before some of you have gotten to see this story. Some of you may not have been following this story, but wait until you see this. This is a guy who's supposedly been in this prison cell for 3 months on his own for the last 4 days with no food or water. Keep that in mind when we get to this.
Deep in the belly of the regime's Air Force intelligence headquarters,
these are English letters.
We are hoping to find traces of Austin Tice, an American journalist held captive in Syria since 2012. It's one of many secret prisons across the city. This specific branch was tasked with surveillance, arrest, and killing of all regime critics.
I love that CNN, they were going to go find, we were looking for signs of this journalist who's been held since 2012. Do you even know he's still alive, honestly? But if they believed it, they have no business being journalists. Oh, yeah. If CNN actually was lied to here and wasn't a part of this, they should not even try doing news. Wow, she can read English. I love that she's got a cameraman right there, right? But she's recording with her phone too. Like, wouldn't you want the high def camera to be there taking? Hey, quick, shoot this wall. But notice they didn't show us the wall. She's just like, oh, there's English writing here. But anyway, sorry. It's a total side tangent there. Remember, this is where they went and they killed all of the regime's enemies and did surveillance in the jail. Sure, why not?
We don't find any hints of Tice, but come across something extraordinary.
Wait, you're looking for an English journalist and you found English writing on the wall, but you didn't find any traces of him. Sure, why not?
I can't tell though. It might just be a blanket, but it's the only cell that's locked.
Is he gonna shoot it?
The guard makes us turn the camera off while he shoots the lock off the cell door.
Why don't the guard he ain't got no keys? It's their guard is what it's going for, but just the way she said it. So yeah, they come across this locked door. Nobody apparently has been through this place since Assad left, and like what we really need to do is have CNN there with us at the beginning. We're gonna do a whole thing where it's like Al Capone's vault. Why'd they turn off the camera? So that you couldn't see that they just pulled that fake lock off, and that way they can make a gunshot sound. Do you know how loud that gun would have been inside those cells? Those are small concrete rooms. They would have all been fucking deaf from that. But no, just turn the camera off to the side a little bit.
We go in to get a closer look. It's still not clear if there is something under the blanket.
All right. So the guard that's there to guard them shoots the lock off, and they come in, and there's this lump under this blanket in this cell behind the door, so you couldn't see him when you were looking through the slat. Maybe it's warmer against that wall. I don't know. There's no they hang on, let's take it back just a second. All right, so we can see basically what she sees as she comes in, right? Dangerous, thank you. You know what's fucked up? The one time the media treated Trump like an actual president was when he bombed Syria in response to the nonsense gassing story from 2017. Yeah, you're not wrong. All right, watch this.
Go in
Okay.
to get a closer look. It's still not clear if there is.
Now they got their Chiron in the way here, but something you don't see in this prison cell that this guy has been in for 4 days, which they'll come to in a minute. 4 days, no food or water. There's nowhere for him to pee. Nowhere. Toilet bucket. Yes, Faithless. There is nowhere for this dude to use the restroom. And there's no shit on the floor. There's no. He hasn't had food for 4 days, but he had it before that. So he should have had some kind of movement in that time. And nah, bro, he had that magical poop. He shit and it instantly disintegrated. Oh, wait for it, Faithless. We haven't got there yet. We'll get to that in just a second.
Something.
Oh, yeah,
under the
surprise.
blanket.
There's a dude under the blanket.
It moved. Is there someone there?
All right, there's a lump there. Something moved. And is there someone there? You're in a Syrian prison. Why are you speaking English? Do you think the Syrian was like, oh, thank God, American English, I understand that? Fuck. This is so fake. So fake. Anyway.
Is someone there? Or is it just a blanket? I don't know.
Is someone there or is it just a blanket? I don't know. You just said you saw it move. So you think there's a possibility it might be one of those self-moving blankets? Oh, shit. Thank God that they actually played this, that they put this whole thing out there for us to watch, and it's in absurd entirety, because fuck. If somebody told me they did this and I didn't have the video to back it, I wouldn't believe you. I'd think you were just lying about these guys. Magic carpet. Oh, shit. Okay, sorry, we're not done yet. I know I shouldn't be laughing at this because, I mean, they're basically making light of a real tragedy, right? I mean, again, Assad was not a good guy, or isn't a good guy. He's still alive, I guess, but as leader, he wasn't a good guy. But this is making a mockery of what actual prisoners there went through. Now, there's pictures from Syrian prisons, and do you see how pristine the ground looks there? If you see the pictures from actual Syrian prisons that we know were run during Assad's regimes, they're fucking filthy. There's trash fucking everywhere. Not in this one, man. Apparently, since they did surveillance here, they had to make sure that the cells were nice and clean for when they shot people. Clean concrete. Yeah, that is like fucking brand new concrete right there. There's a little bit of wear and tear here. Looks like they had something on that wall. But, I mean, it's not dirty. The place isn't dirty. There's not even, like, dirt on the ground.
Hello?
Hello?
Okay, I just
Wait a second. Did she just say what I think she said? Hang on. I got to turn it up on my end for a second.
Okay,
I can't tell. It sounded to me like the first time I heard it, like she said he, which would be wrong for her to say. I can't say for sure that's what she said, though.
Yeah. So. It's okay.
All right, let's back that up. Okay, when I first saw this, the way that this is laying and everything, I figured his head was down here because it's covered up. But watch as he gets up here. His head wasn't even fully under the blanket. It barely peels back. Oh, shit. Plus, this is a guy locked in a prison cell, right? Why would you be holding the gun on him like the guard was doing here? Watch. All right, this This is supposedly a prisoner who's been locked in this place for God knows how long.
Yeah.
Oh, but get that gun ready. Get that gun ready. He might lunge at me. Oh, fuck. They didn't even think this through. I mean, this is almost like watching one of those ghost hunting videos. I expect them to. I feel like somebody's in the room here with us. Quick, get the electromagnetic tester. Where's my spirit book?
So,
Journalist. The cameraman is chanting journalist at the Syrian. I'm surprised as an American he just didn't raise his voice. Like, don't you understand what I'm saying? Maybe if I say it louder, you'll understand English. Fucking journalist. You realize that's not a universal word, right? It's not like the Mexican word for journalist is journalist and the Syrian word for journalist is. These are different languages, you fucking retard. It's okay. It's okay. Journalist. And like he's going, oh, thank God. CNN came to save me. Oh, I wasn't sure who you were till you said journalist. The big camera on your shoulder didn't fucking give it away. How is this not illegal? This is basically propaganda. Well, because I mean, it's what would be the charge, right? I mean, it's not illegal to lie. It's not illegal to make a fake video.
I'm a civilian, he says. I'm a civilian.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
He tells the fighter he's from the city of Homs and has been in the cell for 3 months. Okay, you're okay.
All right, let's stop right there. I am a white man whose beard does not grow that fast. If I had been in a cell for 3 months, my hair would be rather long and my beard would be, I would look homeless. This dude has a pristinely manicured beard and his hair was obviously cut this week. Apparently in Assad's jails, they were really big on personal hygiene. There's no fucking toilet, no shower, no sink, but this motherfucker is got clean face. His hair is clearly just been trimmed. Okay. That is the biggest giveaway to me is his hair length. It is, what is that? Less than 1/8 of an inch. But hey, he's been locked in this place for 3 months. Look at his coat. Look at it. Homeless people in the US look worse than this. But this dude is well groomed. Yeah, his beard is nicely trimmed. It's not even like just overgrown. It's just trimmed.
You're okay. You're okay. You're okay.
Why are you chanting "you're okay" to a guy who doesn't speak the language? This is another part that just kept driving me nuts watching this. Like, he doesn't speak English. Why are you chanting "you're okay"? You're okay. Should at the very least ask the translator, how do you say "you're okay" in Syrian? What do they speak in Syria? Arabic, I guess. How about that? How about "you're okay" but in Arabic? At least do the accent, right? A woman trying to mother him. I get it, but you're just speaking for no reason at that point. I do like how, I don't know if you guys caught it. Wait a second. Let's go back. Before she decides to come out and be motherly, I think we catch it right here. She hides behind the door. She had already been inside. But now she's like, I gotta hide from the homeless guy living in the cell. And I get maybe he was hiding, but there was just a gunshot, right? There there was a gunshot just a second ago, and they come around and they find this guy. I don't know about you, but I would have pissed myself. There would at least be pee on the floor now, especially if he thought he was going to die in this place and like, oh, they're finally coming for me. But okay.
He
Fucking
tells the
hid behind the
fighter
door.
he's from the city of Humps and has been in the cell for 3 months.
Okay, you're okay.
No toilet. Been in that cell for 3 months.
You're okay. You're okay. You're okay.
You're okay.
He clutches my arm tightly with both hands.
Okay.
I can see both of his hands right over here, and your arm is way over there.
Does anyone have any water? Water.
Oh, I see. He clutched your hand, not your arm. You don't even tell the story right. Anyway, if you come across somebody that hasn't had food or water for a while, or you don't know how long they've had food or water, you shouldn't just give them food or water. And we're going to see something that really tells you this is fake in just a second.
My. Okay, it's water.
Right here.
It's water. Okay. Okay.
Listen to him gulp down that water.
Okay, you're okay. You're okay. You're okay.
It's hard to see right here, but have you ever seen anybody who's been without water for 4 days? Do you know what happens to their, I don't know, lips, their eyes? Your body needs water. You need to stay hydrated. And if you don't, certain parts of your body show telltale signs of not having water. And this is what I was talking about with the drinking right there. You should not chug water like that if you have a completely empty stomach and have had it that way for 4 days. There's a great scene in Band of Brothers where they come across that small concentration camp. They didn't find one of the big ones, but they did find a small concentration camp there. And they started giving these people food and water. And the health experts came in and said, you can't do that. You need to lock these people back up so we can monitor their food. Because you can make them very fucking sick. You can kill them doing that shit. I can't read that thing there, but 3 days. By the way, 3 days without water can happen. It is typically death at that point, but it can happen. But you're going to have some severe signs of it, which this guy shows none of. What's up, P-Dog? How you doing, man?
We start to walk him outside. Thank God you are safe. Don't be afraid, the fighter says. You are free. This is the third prison they brought me to, he says. The third prison.
Look at how he shakes. Look at how he's just shaking. His shake comes and goes. It's really cool to watch how his shake comes and goes. But now that we get him in the light of day, look how fucking clean that coat is. He's been sleeping on the ground in a cell for 4 days alone. He's been in that cell for 3 months with no toilet. And his coat is immaculate. That shit looks like it just came out of a JCPenney catalog. Dude, does JCPenney still do catalogs? I'm so old, you guys.
After 3 months in a windowless cell, he can finally see the sky.
Isn't that sweet? Look at how he looks at the sky. And I love that she made sure to time that properly. Because hang on, look. He's already out in the sun here. And he's can see the sky coming up.
After 3 is the third prison they brought me to, he says. The third prison.
All right. So he's coming out. He can clearly see the sky is coming up, right? But he's just got to finish whatever he's probably saying it's okay in Syrian. Again, I don't know what they speak over there. But
3 months in a windowless cell, he can finally see the
oh God. I thought it was just going to be a giant fluorescent light in that room that I had to have come in to get here. They tried to pass this off as real, but it's not over yet.
The sky.
Oh, this guy.
يلا ضو
انت حر.
يلا ضو
روح روح.
يلا
حد اصابك؟
My
يلا ضو
God, the light, he says. Oh God, there is light.
ما ضل
My
لا
God,
سجن
there
ولا
is
نظام
light.
ولا طيران.
He couldn't see the light when he was still inside as he was walking towards it. He's got blind spots in his eye like I do. This is like a bad movie. It really is. Because it is a bad movie. But they didn't even try. It's not like we don't have a ton of fucking video of people being rescued and stuff from around the world going back, I don't know, 80 fucking years. But dear God, I love how he looks at the sky. Oh my God, it's light. There's light. There was light in his cell. Fuck. Oh shit. All right.
الحمد لله.
أخ
روح.
أخ
Ugh. Okay, I just want to point that they just found a dude who's been locked in a cell for 4 days with no food or water. And instead of taking him to a hospital, they get him a rolling chair, which, by the way, that's a pretty nice looking little rolling chair, and set him down so they could talk to him. If this was real, this would make you such a shitbag of a human being. Like, look, we're going to save you, but first I need to get the story. Fuck, what kind of horrible human are you? Like, hey. We're saving you. We're going to put you in a darkened place. Notice it's not as bright here as it was just a moment ago. Maybe it got cloudy. Maybe it got a little bit cloudy.
خليكم معي.
You're okay.
Stay with me. Stay with me. He repeats again and again.
خليكم معي.
Stay with me, he repeats again and again. Nobody's told her that's what he said. Maybe she was guessing.
خليكم معي.
This is one of my favorite parts right
For
here.
3 months, I didn't know anything about.
My favorite part is when he looks up at the sky because it is so over the top ridiculous. But he's about to eat, y'all. White savior, white woman savior.
about
يعني
my
ولادك ما
family.
بعرف شو يعني أهلك.
I didn't hear anything about my children.
حيشوفوك هلا حيشوفوك على التلفزيون. ما بعرف شو يعني ولادي والله ما بعرف شو يعني أهلي.
I don't know.
The fighter hands him something to eat.
لا.
He barely lifted to his mouth.
Look, watch how he shakes. He can barely lift it to his mouth. He's got ramen with steak bits in it, which again, probably not something you should be feeding somebody who hasn't eaten in a while. Their body's going to have trouble digesting that. That's going to cause issues. You just gave this man horrible stomach cramps and diarrhea. Wait.
But his body can't handle it.
Okay, you're okay.
His captors fled during the fall of.
His body couldn't handle it. He hadn't even swallowed yet. He had to bend over and spit it out and vomit from chewing. This okay. You do have to be careful what you feed them, but it's not going to cause a real issue like this after 4 days. 4 days. You can live for 4 days without food. Well, you can live 30 days without food, or is it 3 weeks? I forget what the thing is. It's 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. Is that what it is? Either way, he had only chewed like 8 times. We could probably count how many times he chewed. He didn't swallow it all. And his body couldn't handle it. If you told me that it tasted like shit and that made him vomit, sure. Must have had pork in it. Stop it. 7 days? Is that right? No, you can go longer than 7 days without food. Remember that chick who survived for like a month on ketchup packets out at sea? Anyway, I just love how over dramatic they got with this. 3 weeks without food, 3 days without water, 3 minutes without air. There's the 333. Thank you. Thank you. I knew I've heard it and I never remember the exact thing, but thank you. Hey, Camel. And there are people who've lasted longer. I mean, it depends. You should never try that, but you can. That's just a time frame. It's not 4 fucking days. His body didn't reject the water that he chugged, but chewing that food was just too much. Maybe the light got in his eyes and gave him some vertigo. He did look up. Maybe he's got some vertigo issues.
Damascus, leaving him with no food or water.
Oh, I've been.
Okay, you're okay. His captors fled during the fall of Damascus, leaving him with no food or water. That was at least 4 days ago.
So I just want to point out that at least 4 days. At least 4 days he hasn't had food or water. The rest of the prison was completely cleared out. But they were like, hey, give this guy a haircut and a new coat before we leave. And all of the captors left, right? They've all been gone. But he didn't hear anything. He doesn't know that Assad has been ousted and that all these people left. Because, thank you, Adebisi. Americans can't go hours without food. It's more for everyone else. Americans can't go hours without food because we don't have to.
I'm shaking. My face is shaking, he says. The rebel tells him there's no more army, no more prisons, no more checkpoints. Are you serious? He says.
He turns and looks at the white woman because that's who's. Are you serious? I thought they were all leaving to go to Disneyland. The fuck are you talking about? Oh God.
Syria is free, he tells him. It's the first time he has heard those words.
Stop raping him, man. Now I see why he was in prison.
He tells us his name.
Wait. Let's go back a second. Hang on, right here. This dude's hair is longer than the prisoner who's been in prison for 3 months and hasn't had anybody around him for 4 days. His hair is dirtier than his is. Oh, fuck. CNN, you couldn't at least get somebody with like a shaved head to be your fake translator here? All right.
He tells us his name is Adil Khurbal, and that officers from the much-feared Mukhabarat intelligence services took him from his home and began interrogating.
Look at that fake shaking. Hang on. I'm going to try not to. We're going to not listen to her, but watch his fake shaking.
Took him from his home and began interrogating
that is so fake.
Him about his phone.
That's not how you shake when you're shaking. That was like he was trying to keep time with a song. Ah, fuck. It's better than his hand shaking or apparently his face shaking, which she said earlier. But if you watched when he was eating his food, his hand shook for just a second until she said he can barely get it to his face, and then it stops shaking and he clearly just puts it in his face. I probably shouldn't laugh at stuff like this because it is so blatant how they are just pushing propaganda. And again, the reason they're doing this, what does CNN get out of this? Well, they get a story about how, look, yes, the people coming in are fundamentalist Muslim terrorists, but at least they didn't lock a man in a cell for 3 months and then for 4 days and give him a haircut and clean clothes. Take away his ability to have bodily functions whatsoever. There was no toilet in that place. He would have pooped at least once if he had food before this. And if he didn't have food before this, he would have been more emaciated. I do love that they threw him into his cell with his coat on and gave him blankets. Oh, fuck. Anyway. And this bitch is trying to pretend this is all real.
Brought me here to Damascus. They asked me about names of terrorists, he says. Did they hit you, the fighter asks? Yes, yes, he says. As a paramedic arrives, the shock sets in. There's nothing. Everything's okay. The Red Crescent is coming
Somebody said you need to shake a little bit more.
to help you, this man assures him. You are safe. Don't be afraid anymore. Everything you are afraid of is gone.
Replaced by fundamentalist Muslim terrorists.
Tens of thousands of Syrians have disappeared in Assad's prisons. Up until 15 minutes ago, Adel Hurbal was one of them. He is still petrified. Don't be afraid, the ambulance worker reassures him. Every car I got into, they blindfolded me, he says. It is.
Well, that should tell you this is a different kind of thing. Oh, shit. Okay, so at this point, he's been fed and given water. There's a white woman there with a giant camera, and they're putting him in a car in an ambulance, reportedly. I don't know why their ambulances have people right up front. And everybody's being nice to him, tell him everything's okay. It's all good. And he's like, but they used to blindfold me. So this is like a Tumblrette wrote a hostage situation. Jesus Christ.
Is the end of a very dark chapter for him and for all of Syria.
It's an end of a dark chapter for him and all of it. Fundamentalist Muslim terrorists have taken over the country. Yes, they kicked out a dictator who is a douchebag. But how can it's who is it? It's the Sunnis who just took over, right? So now instead of the Shia despot, they have a Sunni one in his place. No, these are the good fundamental Muslim terrorists with a $10 million US bounty on his head. Everything is better now.
But so many ghosts remain.
Their ambulance looks suspiciously like a power truck.
But so many ghosts remain.
One, that is a very nice truck. That's a pretty beautiful truck. Is that how they pick people up? Like if somebody gets a gunshot wound, they just stick them in the passenger seat or throw them in the bed of the truck? All right, sure.
Jake, I have to say, I have been doing this job for nearly 20 years now, and that really was one of the most extraordinary moments that I have ever witnessed.
I feel like she should be standing in a puddle up to her waist while there's a cameraman standing there and the water doesn't even cover his shoes. That's how fucking fake this is. For those of you who don't know, Anderson Cooper actually did that. He got into a hole. Was that during a hurricane, right? He gets into a hole so the water is up to his waist. And there's a picture taken from behind his cameraman. The cameraman is standing on flat ground. And the water barely comes halfway up his shoe. But Anderson needed a much better picture. So he got in a giant fucking puddle of water. Oh, God. Yeah. I love her tone here. I have to tell you, Jake, this is one of the most impactful things I've ever been through. Katie, yes, that is 100% true. Anderson Cooper. I wonder if I can find the picture. Let's see. Anderson Cooper in a hole. Images. Let's get the big picture up on the screen. Yeah, this is the picture that they sent out to the world. Now, this is his cameraman right here, so they're filming from right behind that black guy. And yeah, Anderson Anderson crawled in a hole so he could take the picture. Why did that just... Oh, this must be from Snopes. I wasn't even paying attention to what site it came from. What do they rate this? Is this Anderson Cooper standing in a ditch while reporting on a hurricane? Yes. 100% yes. Miscaptioned. Okay. Fuck right off. We all know what they did there. All right, let's go back to our lady because we're not done with her yet. She's got to tell us about how bad this was. Snopes trying to pretend Anderson Cooper wasn't faking news. All right. Back to this.
We don't know why the regime of Bashar al-Assad took Adil Hubar.
Wait. Why are you doing that, lady?
Really was one of the most extraordinary moments
Listen.
that I have ever witnessed. We don't know why the regime of Bashar al-Assad took
Bashar al-Assad. Bashir al-Assad, lady, you're American. You're not British even. You're an American. I can hear it in your accent. How come they don't do this with Asians? They never do that like with Xi Jinping. They don't use the accent from the area. They do it with Hispanic and Middle Eastern for some reason. Stop it. Thank you, Dangerous Spaces. Spits out food. This is not gluten-free. I'm calling my agent. Alternatively, how many days until we find out this dude works on CNN? Hey, Mohammed, we need you for a shot or for a story. Sorry. They've done that before. Yes, they have. They, during the riots of 2020, they used some of their own, they used their own cameraman for some of the protesters. CNN is just fake news. And this goes all the way back to what really put CNN on the map, because CNN was a thing, but it was the first Gulf War that really blows up CNN. And we find out years later that they were working with Saddam. Anyway.
Took Adil Hubar. He doesn't know why they took him. He was basically...
Wait, hang on.
Adil Hubar. He doesn't know why they took him.
He told us earlier, according to you, that they kept asking him for or what he knew about terrorists. Now, it's just me, but I'm guessing they thought he knew terrorists. He doesn't know why they took him. The clues that they were asking him about what he knew about terrorists just went right over his head. He was getting his hair cut at the time, so he couldn't really hear what they were asking. Jesus Christ.
He was basically living a very simple life in the city of Homs in an area called Khaldiya. He said the Mukhabarat basically came to his house and said that there was some issue with people he had been making phone calls with. But we have to be very clear.
He doesn't know why. He told us earlier they were asking about terrorists. When they picked him up, they said there was some issue with the people he was calling. I wonder why they took him. You're not even good at lying. Stop trying it. God damn. Yeah, an issue. Yeah, you keep calling Bob, and Bob watches too much sports. It's an issue. Jesus Christ. What did you say? I can't hear you over the hair clippers. Yeah, he does not know why they took him. Look, I'm not. Well, they didn't take him. Let's be honest. That was so contrived, and like I said, Megyn Kelly gives this bimbo the benefit of the doubt. I know they set this up for her. All right. Let's say you're a reporter, and you're showing up at this prison to look for evidence of an American who has been missing for 12 years. There's no reason to believe he's been in this prison, but that's how good of a reporter she is, guys. She's going to every prison in Syria to track this guy down. And you come across a cell that still has a lock on it that your guard who's with you shoots off. Are you going to be the first one through the door like she was? This was fake. This was faked by CNN. There's no way they weren't in on this. There's just not.
Clear here. This is the type of thing where the Mukhabarat would take anyone with impunity. They would detain them. They would interrogate them. They would beat them. They would keep them for months, years on end. They didn't have.
All right. Can we... Okay. I'm not even sure what word she's saying because she's trying to do the native accent. So we're just going to call it prison. They're at prison. The hall. We're keeping people. Do you remember what they told us when they went to the prison? What the three things they did there were? They did surveillance, they kept prisoners, and they murdered people. They killed people. No, this is more than a clickbait story, Dangerous. We'll get to that in a minute. She just listed all of the horrible things that they did with impunity. Did you notice the part she skipped? She didn't mention killing them. They beat them and they'd lock them up for a long time and give them haircuts and trim their beard nicely and give them clean clothes. Jesus fucking Christ, lady. You're burying the lead there. You start with, hey, they murdered people. But listen again.
The Mukhabarat would take anyone with impunity. They would detain them. They would interrogate them. They would beat them. They would keep them for months, years on end. They didn't have to give a reason. You didn't even have to be an activist. You didn't even.
She doesn't mention that they murdered people. She told us that at the beginning when she's going into the prison. They keep them for months or years. But they lived? I mean, I feel like the murder part is the really horrible one. They're not beating people and locking them up like that. That's not good either. But apparently that part just skipped her mind.
Didn't have to be part of the opposition against Bashar al-Assad. So many of the people, Jake, who disappeared inside these dungeons were ordinary Syrians struggling to understand what on earth they had done to get there in the first place.
Your friend he was suspected of being in contact with people who were against the Bashar al-Assad regime. And I'm not saying that's a good reason to lock him up, but we do that here, aiding and abetting terrorists, giving material support to terrorists. We would do that. Now, I'm not saying that this guy was a terrorist because he's not. He's an actor. But, you get what I'm saying? She's making this sound so horrible. And there's a reason they're doing this. And it's what I told you guys at the beginning. They are having a real problem trying to make the incoming regime look better than al-Assad. That's how bad the incoming regime is. They're like, I know what we can do. I saw this episode of Band of Brothers where they came across these prisoners. And it seems like that really got everybody on the American side. So maybe if we fake a prisoner incident. Christ, man. It's It's Muhammad's list. Muhammad was trying to get the prisoners out.
We don't know where Adul Khurban is now. He got into that ambulance. We offered to give him our phones to call his family, but as you can see in that moment, he was in a state of profound shock.
He did not seem like he was in profound shock at all. He didn't have the 100-yard stare. He seemed to be communicating pretty easily. He understood when you guys told him the Assad regime was gone. We offered him his phone. Did you try that in Arabic instead of English? Maybe he thought you were trying to sell him your iPhone, and he's like, I don't have no money. I've been in jail. Yeah, as you could see, Well, you recorded most of it. Why didn't you record the part where you offered him your phone? Ain't no way white woman here offered up her iPhone. She probably made the cameraman do it. Hey Joey, give him your phone. He lives in a tiny little place in the middle of Syria by I don't know what Humps is, which sounds like what she's saying. I could think of worse places to live than Hump, but you described it as a tiny little village. Does anybody there even have a phone? Maybe he didn't get the phone because he don't have nobody to call. Or how about this? If you offered me your phone to call, I think I know 2 phone numbers, mine and my wife's. I don't remember anybody else's number. They're all programmed into my phone. I don't have to remember phone numbers anymore. So if you're like, hey, do you want to call your daughter? Be like, I do, but I can't because I don't know her phone number.
He wasn't able to collect himself to the point where he was able to get in touch with his family, but all of us.
He wasn't able to get himself together enough to contact his family. He was able to drink, praise the sun, which was weird, pretend to eat and spit it out. But man, making that phone, talking. Look, I just can't talk. I'm going to talk to you guys. I'm going to talk to this guy over here telling me Assad is gone. But I can't deal with that bitch at home right now. You think he was like, oh, fuck, I got to go home. I hate that bitch. This was my salvation. I paid them to put me in here. As you could see, he couldn't even manage to call his family because there's no phone in his tiny little village. All right.
Of course, are wishing that he is safely reunited with them and that all of the prisoners who have been held for so long without any.
Wait, let me understand this correctly. You just rescued a guy from Bashir al-Assad from a prison that he was torturing, killing, but that's not a big deal, and beating people in. And you let him get into a vehicle that claimed to be an ambulance that's clearly like a F-150 with the extended cab and drive off. And you guys have no way of checking up. You're not going to go out to Humps or anywhere and be like, hey, Hockney, how you doing? You okay? Everything good? We brought you some more ramen noodles. You put him in a government vehicle for a place that was just taken over by a fundamentalist terrorist group whose leader is on a list that will get you $10 million if you kill him. I don't even know. I don't know how to process something that fucking retarded. I really don't. His family's in Jordan. How do you know his family's even still alive? Maybe they were like, hey, we're going to take him because he might know something, but kill all of these guys. That's what you'd have me believe about Assad. And you guys, you just let a government agency take him away. You couldn't call the hospital? How many hospitals could be around there that they could take him to? We couldn't. We tried pretending we looked for him. Oh my God. You were supposed to be a journalist, for fuck's sake.
Legal recourse. Those who are alive will be returned to their loved ones soon, Jake.
Tonight, CNN's Jemana Karacha is in Damascus, where residents are coming to grips with the uncertainty of the country's historic rebellion.
Across Syria.
This is not the first time terrorists have taken over. Maybe you've heard of Cuba. I don't know, tell you.
We're seeing scenes like this, military vehicles left abandoned on the sides of roads and highways. And if you look around here, you see these troops shed their military uniforms, you see combat boots, you see their belongings everywhere, and
They were carrying their sneakers with them.
perhaps giving us an indication of how this collapse happened is it appears these soldiers fled fast. In this
Can we just go back to that one for a second?
of how this
Watch
collapse
this camera
happened
shot.
is it appears these soldiers fled fast. In this
Isn't it amazing that they just happened to get that camera shot of the last 2 pages of that clearly 3-page thing flipping in the wind? Never mind. I was gonna say, how dumb do they think people are? But we know. Shio, thank you. Do transgender women get triggered when they wake up with a hard-on? Probably. I'm just saying. Dude, take that tank home. The reason these are probably stopped here is they probably did run out of gas. Tanks do not get very good gas mileage. Isn't it like, depending on the tank, and no more than a couple of miles a gallon? Tanks are just giant gas tanks with a big thick armor because they need it. And the stuff that was underneath it, somebody probably was sleeping there. I just love their camera shot of the paper.
location at least, we're not seeing any signs of them putting up a fight. 72-year-old Bashir Saman is here with his son and his grandchildren. Did you ever imagine that this day would come?
Really, no. No, at least in my few years left in my life.
How long you think it took them to find a Syrian who speaks perfect English? All right, that's enough of this shit. So yeah, they found themselves, and they really are. They're trying to make this kind of like a Holocaust kind of thing, where they're like, hey, did you see how Bashir al-Assad put these people in prison camps? They would take them, and they wouldn't even know why they were being taken, and they could do it with impunity, and they wouldn't let them have food or shelter or water. Did you see how he was shaking you guys? That was such a horrific piece of propaganda. And again, look, I'm not saying Assad's a good guy, but the people coming in are clearly bad guys. Do you guys remember what the Arab Spring gave us? Do y'all remember? ISIS. That's what we got out of the Arab Spring. We got the Muslim Brotherhood taking over massive areas of the Middle East, a terrorist group. And now a whole nother terrorist group is taking over Syria. You can call Assad a bad guy and say the people coming in are bad guys too. You don't need to pretend that, hey, Assad was so horrible and these guys are going to be just peachy keen. It's my 49th birthday. Well, Misfit, around here we do this. And a 1 and a 2. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Misfit. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Hope you have a good one. I really, really do. Dangerous. Thank you. Him. Why does the crazy white bitch keep offering me a phone? I've already said I'm happy with the phone plan I'm on. Her. For some reason, he wouldn't take our phone to call his family. Yeah, at least with the girl right there with the tanks, they found somebody who spoke English. Did that guy give any indication he spoke English? He doesn't respond in English one time. He doesn't nod in agreement with her or anything. Oh, no. That was so bad. And they passed that off as news. Speaking of passing off as news, our second story of the day. I mean, I suppose we should talk about Christopher Wray saying he was going to step down as FBI director. But he's only doing that so he doesn't get fired, because Trump's going to fire his ass and everybody knows it. So he said he's resigning. It's kind of funny. He announced his resignation, or that he was going to resign, like the day after Klobuchar came out and said he should be allowed to serve his 10 years. And he's like, nah, bruh, I'm good. But what you see on the screen, oh, excuse me, what you see on the screen is why that Christopher Wray is not only retiring, but probably headed to the Caymans. Who do we not have an extraditionary treaty with? I know there's one famous country. What is it? Is it Abu Dhabi or Kenya or I forget. There's somewhere where we famously don't have an extraditionary treaty, and that's where he's headed. Thank you, FL. They lied. We knew they lied. They knew we knew they lied, and still they lied. Yeah, because who's going to do anything about it? CNN has been lying to people for years. I saw Destiny watching Anna Kasparian on with Glenn Beck, and I didn't watch the whole thing because I couldn't take it. But Glenn and Anna are talking about how there's fake news stories out there. And somebody in Destiny's audience goes, they never say what fake news are. And Destiny goes off on this. Yeah, they'll never give you any examples of fake news. They never tell you what's actually fake news. Where are the fake stories? Bruh, we mention them all the time. And when I say we, I'm not talking about on this show. I mean, people who are critical of the press, we have a stack of the fucking things. The other day, how many did we go through before I had to repeat one? And that was just because it was relevant at the time to repeat that specific one. Jussie Smollett. There's no way you believed that story when you told it. The Covington kids, the Steele dossier, the FBI wasn't spying on Trump. Anything Trump has said that was true that they all claimed was not true. How much do we have to? No, they never. But speaking of those, a review of the Federal Bureau of Investigation handling of its confidential human sources and intelligence collection efforts in the lead up to the January 6, 2020 electoral certification. This is a Office of Inspector General at the FBI, at the DOJ. And it's their report talking about how they talked to a whole bunch of confidential human sources. And in the lead up. And that many of them were in the crowd and several of them went into the buildings and not one of them ended up on any kind of list. Whoopsie. Don't pay any attention to that part. There's also talk that I think it's 3 FBI agents that they're telling us were in the crowd, but they were there on their day off. Yeah, because we all know the government employees are going in on their days off. They just were that much into law and order. I care so much about there not being a riot that I'm going in on my day off. I spoke to Bob, but that was clearly just coincidental because he was there and I was there and he's a confidential informant and I am a handler, but there was nothing going on. For fuck's sake, man. They just lie. And we were told forever, no, there is no FBI there. And then we were told, well, we can't tell you how many were there. That's not saying there's any there. And they were told, yeah, there were confidential human sources. We already knew the part about them having confidential human sources on the ground. And again, that's not even the part that I have a problem with. I get that there's confidential human sources in the crowd. That part was never in question. The question is how many agents were there? And we know there were agents there. And now they're like, yeah, there were agents there, but they always wear the khakis and blue shirts. It was their day off, and instead of hanging out with their family, they decided to go to a riot. And what I'm wondering is, they tell us in that OIG report that they'd been reaching out because anytime there's a big gathering, they reach out to their confidential human sources and see what's shaking. Like it's Huggy Bear on Starsky and Hutch. There's a throwback for you. Go see what's sticking on the fly paper. And it's amazing to me that they even asked. Like, why would they're supposed to be a Stop the Steal rally, right? They were having the rally on the Ellipse, and then there was a planned protest at the Capitol. How do you go from those two things to there's probably going to be a riot here? And yeah, there's definitely going to be the right wing. They haven't done anything to give us any reason to think that they would riot. Antifa does that, but reach out, have the Gretchen Whitmer crew find out if anything's going on. Speaking of which, there was a great, since we've been on bad press, I didn't bring this up before the show because I wasn't sure how long we were going to go. But there was a story the other day about Pete Hegseth and ProPublica. Lots of people will tell you how good ProPublica is. And they do some good reporting. I'm not gonna say they don't do any good reporting. But as happens with any news site, if they're around long enough and, want to get access to the shitbags in power, they immediately turn left. And so they decided to look into Pete Hegseth. Now, I want to find the full thing. Hang on, let me no, this part. I think. Nope, that's a different one. Here we go. So the guy who runs ProPublica, what's his name? All right, this is one of their editors. I don't know if he's the senior editor. Jesse Eisinger. I think he is the overall editor of this thing. But they reach out to, I'm going to let Jesse tell. Read his. Thank you, Alan. He says, "Morning, Monkey." Good morning, sir. I hope you're well. All right. Yeah, donate if you can, guys. I've taken several days off and I take tomorrow off. So give me money for being lazy. Anyway. Sorry. Here's a story about how journalism works. Is it? Spoiler alert, this is how we decide not to publish. We were recently looking at Pete Hegseth's different statements over the years about West Point, where he has said he was admitted. First stop, West Point. Well, my first stop would be clarifying with him. I'd be like, "Hey, you have claimed you were admitted to West Point, right?" All right. So West Point isn't a bad starting off point. I would have gone to Pete first, but sure, West Point's okay, I guess. We contacted the West Point Public Affairs Office. The first spokesperson wrote on the record, according to the admissions office, Hegseth had not applied for admission to the U.S. Military Academy. That's West Point, the U.S. Military Academy at West Point. We called back to ask if that meant Hegseth had never been admitted. Okay, you were told he hadn't applied and you thought he might have still been admitted. All right. I'm going to let that process for a second. And a second spokesperson told us on the record, absolutely 100%, because he never opened a file. Okay, so according to them, they contacted West Point, and they do have documents for this. We have this document right here, and oh no, these are his actual documents. Sorry, this is them responding to him. They do have the actual documents somewhere. Anyway, it doesn't matter to me. Now we thought we had the makings of a significant story. He lied about being admitted to West Point. He never said he went to West Point. In fact, he said he declined going to West Point. Now, this is where my first annoyance with this story happened. I don't care whether Pete went to Hegseth or Pete Hegseth went to West Point or applied to West Point or was admitted to West Point. he became an officer in the United States military. What was he a Marine? I think Marine, Army, I forget which. But he became an officer. So the idea of him being interested in going to West Point makes sense, right? This isn't like he like it's not like he has his own teach yourself how to be a man thing and no military record we can look at whatsoever. And he's like, no, I was accepted to West Point. And you'd be like, come on, man, you didn't even serve. He became an officer, which is what West Point is for. It's for training officers. But all right. For some reason, an officer saying that he'd been accepted to West Point confused you. And so you guys reached out to West Point to ask them if he'd ever been admitted. Sorry, did we finish reading this one? But the first rule of good journalism is no surprises. You were looking for a surprise, right? Because you didn't know. You must give the subject of a potential story a fair chance to respond to all of the salient facts in the story. Okay, I don't necessarily disagree with that, but do you know what their version of what do you say here? A fair chance to respond. Do you know how much time they gave his people to respond? An hour. That's how much time they're like, hey, you got a fair chance to respond here. You get thank you, Assassin of the Gray. Fun fact, West Point admissions are not public record. This was an intended smear job. Oh, 100% was. I served with Major Hegseth in the New York National Guard. Solid officer, and I would follow him back to combat tomorrow. Yeah, I've never heard anybody who was under Hegseth who hasn't said that. Everything we've seen, this isn't like John Kerry where people are like, that guy was a fucking douchebag. This is everybody spoke very highly of him, except people who are trying to destroy his career, none of which were in the military. Dixie, thank you so much for that double feminist $12. The sun will have circled the earth 365 days on Sunday, and I will be able to watch the show on Monday. Could I get my birthday song early? Have to Jack. I hope it said I won't be able to watch the show on Monday. Dixie Rose, this one is for you. And a 1 and a 2. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Dixie Rose. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, sweetie. I hope you have a great one. I really, really do. P-Dog says they must have gone to the Taylor Lorenz School of Journalism. I mean, this is what journalism is these days. They gave him an hour to respond. Okay, fine. Why do we do this? We want to make sure what we have is correct. Keep that in mind. We care about accuracy. We aim to get both sides or both specific facts and a larger picture right. The essential part of this is contacting a subject and being intellectually honest enough to change your mind and drop a story. Now, they're responding to Pete Hegseth, who posted his acceptance letter. That's what we saw a little bit ago. That was his acceptance letter to West Point that he declined. Now, you would think that so far in the story, they told us that West Point lied to them, right? Hegseth had not even applied. Do you think they ran a story on that? No. I think Pete should have waited. He should have let them publish that story. He should have waited before he put this on the internet. I would have. I've been like, go ahead and print that. I dare you. But anyway, we care about accuracy. Fuck off. One of the reporters called Hegseth's lawyer. The attorney made a lot of angry legal threats to him but didn't deny the facts. Which facts? I want to remind you, this is him responding to Hegseth, pointing out that their facts were not facts. At best, they were, the very best they can say is that they were lied to and ready to go to print with a lie. That's the best they can say. He didn't respond to the facts. You mean the made up bullshit? Because that's what he didn't respond to. Which, by the way, the guy says yes, I did. I said it was fake, that it was bullshit that he'd been accepted to West Point. But I love how he writes that. He didn't deny the facts. And this is the only one I responded to on Twitter. Like, this is where you got it wrong. This is where you show you're not a journalist. Because a journalist, at the very least, would have said he didn't deny the alleged facts, or he didn't deny what we had been told. No, he didn't deny the facts. Like it's Pete Hegseth's person, or whatever it is, his spokesperson. It's their responsibility for the news to get the story right. Thank you, Donald, for that feminist $12. Here you go for everyone's favorite lazy internet daddy. Father, thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. This is where they show you their bias, right? Some rat at West Point squat. Well, see, Gray, that's one of the issues here, is that there's no reason for them to suspect him. This is what I was talking about with him becoming an officer. There's no reason to suggest that he would lie about, especially something that could be checked, right? No, I was accepted to. It's almost like they're trying to make him into Walls. You know, this guy, I carried this gun into combat. Bitch, you never went to combat. What are you talking about? And they had no problem with that. This man lying and stealing honor. No problem with that. I'm a command sergeant major. No, you're not, fucker. No problem with that either. But a guy who became an officer might have lied about applying to West Point and being accepted. Might have. Didn't. Might have. And they're like, this was a big story. We had a big story. Sure, why not? This just shows that you guys are not real journalists. You're just liars. You're partisan hacks. But anyway, we urged him to contact his client to make sure Hegseth understood what we were planning to write. Hegseth is on Twitter. You could have tweeted it at him. You really could have. Could have probably reached out to him. We urged him to get a hold of his client to tell him we were going to lie about him. A second Hegseth PR person then called. He asserted Hegseth still had the letter of acceptance to West Point. We asked him to send it to us, but he just hung up. And if I was them, that's why I would not have said a word until they went to print. I would have waited. I'd have had that post ready to post, but I wouldn't have done it until they went to print. That gave us pause, but we had the on the record info from the Academy. We went back to West Point. We also sent Hegseth's PR person a screenshot of a West Point email telling us Hegseth hadn't been admitted. That's, again, all fine and dandy, but at the very best, they lied to you. He responded with an image of his acceptance letter. Cool. We went back to West Point. They apologized. An Army spokesperson wrote, and it's somebody from the Army going, whoopsie. So no, we were not publishing a story. This is how journalism is supposed to work. No, journalism is not supposed to go try to smear people over some nonsense. Again, this is where you get it wrong. But anyway, this is how journalism is supposed to work. Hear something, check something, repeat step 1 and 2 as many times as needed. The end. All right. Couple of questions for you then, Jesse. Who'd you hear it from? Who'd you hear it from? Just wondering. Evolve Potato, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Evolve Potato. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. I hope you had a good one. Sorry I wasn't here on your birthday for that, but happy birthday. First, hear something. Hear something. Well, who'd you hear it from? Because that'd be one of my first things. Somebody lied to me like this. Why are you protecting somebody who lied to you, right? Somebody told us. Remember, that's not what they said at the beginning of this. He said, we were curious. We were curious. Well, why were you curious? And down here it goes, here's something. So somebody said it to you. This is the problem with lying to somebody as logical as I am. I'm going to find where you have your holes. Don't lie to me. It's not a good idea. So our first lie is that they were just curious about it. All right, fair enough. If the United States Military Academy lied to you to smear a possible DOD head, that seems to me like it'd be a big story. It seems to me at that point, when you got the letter from Pete, you would immediately write him back and going, we've decided that instead we are going to write a story about how West Point lied to us. You know what I mean? It wouldn't. That's a big story. Somebody at West Point is lying about Pete Hegseth, who didn't even go there. All they had to do was verify that he applied and had been accepted. Well, we didn't open. Oh, yeah, we found that in the basement. We found that next to Biden's Porsche. Oh, no, sorry, Corvette. That's what he had, right? You should not be telling this story. This makes you look horrible. This makes you look horrible. You were going to run with a lie, and you're protecting the liars. Somebody told you that. You hear something. Okay, somebody told you. Who was it? Oh, we don't give out our sources. Well, that source lied to you. That's not a source of actual information. No, but they might not talk to us again if we out the liar. There's no good reason to protect this person. Why are you protecting whoever started the rumor? And then two, why didn't you guys write a story instead about how West Point lied to you about this man? About how there seems to be a concerted effort to besmirch his name. I mean, we've all seen okay, maybe not everybody, but if you've been listening to this show, you've heard all about the supposed rape. Remember the chick who was so tipsy she was walking upright with no issues and went and got humped and told Pete that she was going to lie to her husband and then went home and lied to her husband. And then 3 days later, he's like, why do your panties smell like that? And she's like, I got raped. I mean, anyway, I thought this was a great exercise in seeing how our press works, because it is. These are people who go out there with an agenda and they don't care if it's real or not. And then you have to prove a negative. What would have happened if Pete didn't have, if he hadn't kept a record of that? Were they going to go back to West Point another time and be like, no, he's really saying it. He said it many times, but he's really saying it now. No, you know what they would have done? They would have printed West Point said he didn't go, or well, he didn't go, that he wasn't accepted. They would have printed Pete Hegseth lies about, because he even said it. We thought this was a big story. We thought we had a serious story here. You have people that are in our Congress right now who've lied about their military record. You had Hillary talking about coming down under sniper fire. And who was it? Was it Tapper or Anderson Cooper who claimed to fly in under sniper fire before too? I mean, you have people who lie about this shit all the time. You had the VP nominee for the Democrats who lied over and over and over again about his military service. And you guys couldn't be bothered with that shit. But Pete Hegseth, a guy who did become an officer, a combat officer, Brian Williams, thank you. That's who it was, Brian Williams. But you had a combat officer who actually saw war and led men into battle. And you guys are like, he might have lied about applying to West Point. And that was a big story to you. We thought we had a big story, but we thought maybe we should check. And then the guy called us dumb fucks, and we were like, maybe. Now we really got to, hey, tell him he should really talk to his client. Get fucked. ProPublica has just become another shitty place that, lies. Biden pardoned a whole bunch of people. Well, pardoned and commuted sentences for 1,500 people. And there were 3 of them that were really blowing up. We're only going to talk about this briefly. Chinese nationals, one of which had been caught with like 47,000 images of child porn. And there's a lot of people who are upset about this. And I understand. But those 3 do need to be put in perspective. There's a whole bunch of people that he let out, like this. The one that everybody's been talking about is the judge who was selling kids, basically. He was taking kickbacks to send kids to private jails. And the more that he sent there, the more money he got. And yeah, Biden was like, let him free. Good job. But these 3, especially the one who had all these images of child porn, a lot of people rightfully upset about it. But, and I understand that there's not a good but here, but this is part of a prisoner exchange. We're getting 3 Americans back. One who was accused of being a spy. One who was accused of drug. Either I can't remember if it was possession or possession with the intent. And the other one is the sad one. I forget what he was arrested for. I think it was espionage. But he's 79 years old. And nobody in his family has petitioned for our government to get this guy free. It's been private organizations who have done it. His family like, nah, let that fucker rot. But we traded those 3 for these 3 Chinese guys. And in order to be able to make that trade, he had to commute their sentences. He didn't pardon them. It was just a commutation. And it sucks, but it was the price to get our Americans home. So as long as they never come back in the country, I suppose it's as good as it can get. I don't know why China would want to import a molester, but they seem to. But yeah, so of all of the ones that got pardoned, I get why those, especially that guy with all the CP, I get why people are mad about it, but there is more there's more context to it. Anyway, what else do we got going on today? You know what? I do kind of want to watch this for a second. So I saw this video. It was going around yesterday, apparently. Again, I wasn't online very much. But there's a dude who he's got a question for U-Haul. He got himself a question for the U-Haul. And I'm just going to tell you right now, he's a lying piece of shit. But
4 Horsemen, are you ready? Because I'm going to vent before I tell you what I'm doing in North Carolina. But I'm officially in Asheville, North Carolina. But I have a question. U-Haul. Can you answer this question for me? This is how much it cost me to rent my U-Haul truck in Lucedale, Mississippi.
All right. For those of you who can't see the screen, to rent the truck, it's anywhere from $29.95 to $39.95. That's what's on the screen right now. This is how much it costs to rent it at his place.
Right here. See that? Okay. So I get up to Asheville. I was going to grab just a regular pickup truck, drive home in. This is the prices up here.
All right, now on the screen it says $683, $854. Uh-oh.
Now, why is it a $600 and $700 price difference to rent a U-Haul truck up here in the disaster area? If anything, personally, I believe that y'all should come together and make that a little cheaper for people trying to move out and move stuff in or whatever needs to be done in this disaster area of North Carolina.
I don't think you should be lying to get fame off of a disaster, but we'll get to that in a minute.
Just me. But if y'all could, maybe we could all just tag the U-Haul. I know they got a TikTok. Yeah, let's all tag U-Haul in the comment section. Let's ask them that question. Because this has got to be the definition of price gouging.
It's not. It's absolutely not. So if we go back, let's find where he shows it. All right. So here's the $39.95. And if you look at the screen, you'll notice that right under the price, it says select, right? And then if we jump forward to the $600 price increase, oh, right there. Hey, I just
Why is
saw
it a
it.
600 and 700?
There. You'll notice that right underneath the price, it says tow my car. All right, so let's talk about what's going on. Maybe he's just dumb. Now, if you paid attention at the beginning of this, he said he was getting a truck to go from where he is back to where he came from, right? So the prices that you're seeing right there, that's $683 at the top, that is to go from Asheville, North Carolina, back to his home in Kentucky or wherever the fuck he said. And you can check this out yourself. If you are just driving a truck around town, it's going to cost you, depending, I've seen it as low as $20, but up to $40, plus gas, plus mileage. But that's how they do it. If you're going especially to another state, you're going to get a price like this. So either he's dumb and didn't realize what he was doing and didn't realize that there were that what he was looking at was a completely different pricing model. Go look at how much it costs to leave California to go to another state. It's thousands of dollars. And it's not because there was a hurricane in California. It's because it's expensive and there's a lot to pay for out there. A lot of people were sending this out. A lot of people were backing this guy up. A lot of people going, yes, that's totally price gouging. No, at best, it's a moron. Stop listening to morons and liars, okay? If it sounds like it's really bad, go looking into it before you just accept it. Because I see way too many people, especially right now, willing to believe the worst of everything. Our government sucks. Lots of corporations suck. But this is just a lie, okay? Why are you? This seems to me the definition of price gouging. Well, if you truly believe that and you weren't lying, then you're a fucking retard. And I don't know what to tell you. But it is a great example of how this has been going on. So many people falling for that kind of shit. If it sounds really bad, look, a lot of really bad stuff is true, but check it out. Don't just believe it just because. Don't care about that. No, I don't really care about that one either. I don't know if I care about anything else. Like I said, I haven't really been on. I do want to talk about this one just briefly because this bothers me. This is 2024, y'all, right? It's almost 2025. We have a rover driving around on Mars right now. We have two, actually. We've sent ships out to hang out around Europa and flybys of Neptune and Saturn and Uranus. And I don't remember if we've been to Pluto or not, if they care about it anymore since they decided it wasn't a planet. We made great strides in human science. More beans and less red meat. Nutrition experts weigh in on the U.S. dietary guidelines. Why is it in 2024 we still can't figure out human dietary needs? How is it that science is so bad? And look, I'm kind of asking rhetorically, but the dietary, when I was a kid, do y'all remember the food pyramid? Remember that thing? You got to eat so many breads and meats and vegetables. And remember that? And now they're like, no, don't pay any attention to that. Eggs are good for you. Eggs are bad for you. Eggs are okay. You know, don't eat an egg. Just lick it. Just lick it. How is it we can't figure this shit out? We should by now have been able to go, all right, this is the definitive diet that you should be that you should be eating. Eat what you want, but this is what it gives you all your nutrition. This is what's good for you. This is what's bad for you. But that's not what happened. The U.S. dietary guidelines and food pyramid have been messed up ever since they got politicized. Yes. The eggs are blue at this point. Stop it. It is all politicized. It is all a bunch of bullshit. It's amazing following the money of the different food industries, because you realize almost all foods, especially agricultural projects or products, have their own lobby group, right? There's like a tomato lobbying group, and there's like a bean lobbying group, and there's a meat lobbying group. And these people get up there and they have their own, I'm using air quotes here, scientists who are like, no, it actually turns out that a diet high in fat is bad for you. And so what they have everybody do? Eat low fat foods. Not fresh fruits. No. Eat low fat sour cream. The stuff they add sugar to. If you're eating something that says low fat and it's not a natural thing, I promise you they added sugar to it. Because they take the fat out, and a lot of the flavor that you enjoy comes from fats. And to make up for it, they put a shit ton of sugar in it, which makes your body make fat. We should be so far beyond. You can still have arguments about whether or not, hey, meat is good for you if you cook it more or cook it less. Have argument, but we should be able by now to figure out what actually is good for us. This isn't like the Middle Ages where you can only eat what you can find. And this is America, where we have an excess of food. We throw away more food than some countries eat. And we just can't figure this the fuck out. Fun fact, you need cholesterol in food to create healthy cell walls. Yes. I was, again, watching Megyn Kelly. She had a doctor on today. And I'm not backing him up, but he was talking about cholesterol itself. And there's some very interesting heart-related things when it comes to cholesterol. And no, not heart attacks. Not heart attacks. No. I first started paying attention to food. How old was I? Mid to late 20s. There was a doctor that used to work at a local hospital. And it was well known that he had diabetes. He was a black man. Black people are more susceptible to diabetes than the rest of you. Just more proof that I'm black. And another doctor came across him, and he was eating eggs and cheese and bacon. And this doctor lost his fucking mind. Like, what are you doing? You're going to kill yourself. That's all the foods we tell you not to eat, which is true, by the way. If you have diabetes and you go to their little coach who teaches you how to eat, they will tell you to avoid fats. Just avoid fat. Fat is bad for you. Like, I thought I was here because of sugar. Stay away from the fats, okay? Again, true story. When I went to mine, and the lady, she's like, you need to drink skim or low-fat milk. And I said, I'm here for diabetes. Why are you telling me to consume more sugar? And she said, what are you talking about? I'm like, why is my diet expert not up on simple dietary science? Skim milk and low-fat milk add sugar. Check it out. They have more sugar than your regular milk does, your whole milk. But anyway, this doctor looks at the black doctor and he's like, you're going to kill yourself. And he's like, no, actually. He goes, you know what? Let's go down. We'll do my blood work right now. So he went down and did his blood work, and his cholesterol was down. His everything was down into good ranges. And he was notorious for having, he's a black man who's a doctor, who's got stress, you know what I'm saying? So he had high blood pressure, all of the shit. And so that doctor went, well, what are you doing? What kind of medicine are you on? And he goes, I ain't taking shit. And he goes, what do you mean you're not taking anything? You have to take pills, because that's the doctor's answer for everything. And he goes, no. He goes, I cut out carbohydrates. I'm doing the Atkins diet. You guys today know the Atkins diet is the South Beach diet. But Dr. Atkins during his lifetime got a whole bunch of shit. I read his book because a friend of mine was like, no, it's the Atkins diet. You should check it out. And I looked at it, and yeah, it's you eat meats, you stay away from carbs, you eat vegetables. You can eat as much of the shit as you want. You shouldn't. Keto, yeah, it's the Atkins diet is keto. He even talks about going into ketosis and that stuff, and how it can actually make you smell. They never tell you that. But that was the first time I really started to pay attention to the whole diet industry and everything. And again, when I told I have diabetes, and the bitch is like, you need sugar. Like, I don't think that's how it works. And it's amazing to me that you can get to a place where a dietitian who works for the hospital, who is specifically there to talk to people that you've told, hey, you have diabetes, didn't know that they add sugar to low-fat stuff. Of the two, you should probably eat fat over sugar as a diabetic, because the fat will be processed in your body while your pancreas is like, I ain't doing shit with that Snickers bar you just ate. It's amazing to me that in 2024, we're still at a place where we're having to have what should be pretty simple discussions about food. And they're like, no, you need beans over red meat. And what really stood out, I saw this before I saw Megyn Kelly's thing today. And that doctor was talking about there is no studies. And again, I'm not signing off on this because I haven't done the research myself, but he goes, there's actually no link between red meat and heart attacks. There's no concrete proof of this shit. This is just some shit that they decided one day. And it look, a lot of this shit comes from vegetarians and vegans and that crowd, because you'll notice that it's always got to be less red meat. Got to stop with the red meat. It's never pork. It's never fish. They're never like, hey, dude, you're eating too much tuna. That salmon, too much is going to give you a heart attack. It's always red meat. Well, why? What is it about red meat that's so bad for us? We can process it. Our body takes nutrients and stuff from it. But it's always, because it's got so much fat in it. You realize pork is the thing we use to make fun of people, right? Like, you're a pig. You know what I mean? I mean, sure, we call them cows too, but I mean, there's fat in everything. What are you talking about? But it's always got to be the red meat. No, it's about climate change. It is, man. So much of our food stuff that they tell us these days. I saw a graphic like 2 days ago about how much better it is to grow soybeans for human consumption than it is to raise cows, because the amount of protein you get per acre. I'm like, fuck right. One, you're not going to get me to eat a soybean. Okay. No, the only way I'll eat soy is if you make it taste like meat and actually taste like meat. Where do they think lard comes from? Well, Dixie, you're not supposed to use lard. You guys ever seen the movie My Cousin Vinny? Remember when he goes into the diner and the guy takes a big old chunk of lard and pops it on the grill? And Joe Pesci says, maybe you haven't heard about the ongoing cholesterol problem in the country. It's even invaded our media. But none of them will be honest about it, because that shit changes all the time. It's amazing how many things have been good and bad in my lifetime. Oh, don't eat that. That's going to kill you. I don't trust any of these people. I don't trust any of them. And then people give me shit because I'll go to a doctor and I'll make my best guess based on what the doctor said. What is a grit? A grit is actually it's like ground up corn. Down Periscope. I love Down Periscope, but I'm not sure why we're bringing that up. Anyway, we're going to wrap this up because I actually should be asleep right now. I'm not going to be here tomorrow, guys. I have a lot of stuff going on this weekend. I will be back Sunday. I'm not sure. I'm probably going to sleep when I get home Sunday night, so the show will be in the wee hours of the morning. Unless I'm really jazzed, in which case we'll do it as soon as I get home, and then I'll go to bed. So just keep an eye out, but don't look tomorrow. No joke, I will not be here. So thank you for coming and hanging out. Thank you so very, much for the donations. You guys are way too kind. Please, again, thoughts and prayers to Jack. If you can reach out on Twitter and give him a kind word, and I'd appreciate it, and I'm sure he will too. I'm so sorry for what he's going through. It sucks. Everybody take care of yourselves. I love you, and I'll see y'all next time. I'm not gonna sing a dirty song. Penis. It's not dirty. I wash mine.